So when you talk about Chilonga Lucerne, we are talking about transforming the geophysical space of that area into such pictures. If you go there right now, well, right now the picture is not so bad, but when you go there during winter, you don't have this luxury of pasture. And it's a disaster for a community that relies on livestock production. That's what's happening in Kwekwe. We've got some recent trials right now. That's harvesting, but it was wet, so we're forced to use masaga. Now this is what happens when you're finished harvesting. That's the picture that you get. You raise the whole vine to the ground, and then you water, and then it comes up, and in 28 days, you are ready to harvest again. This is just an interpretation of what we've been talking about, that Masvingo is strong on livestock. We need green belt pasture development programs, and Lucerne will definitely impact our GDP targets. Let's go forward. This map, I thought it would help us to understand that really it's not out of this world that we want to do commercial irrigation in the low veld. It makes sense. All those river systems, they are gravitating to the low veld, and there's no rain there. And therefore it has been very important to find a commercial reason to take the water into the communities. This is the area that we are talking about. Down there, it makes sense that we commercially irrigate. The project will affect very minimally Chilonga. It is going to be heavily on Masivamele. This is the Chilonga crossing. And every year, the boatmen around that community will tell you there are serious disasters that happen because of the low bridge that crosses from Chirezi into Chilonga. It's because when there is no investment, guys, it's not easy for infrastructure to be upgraded. And we are very happy that our presence in that area is going to do something about this disaster point, because we are going to have trucks that will be crossing with Lucerne, delivering to the local market and also delivering for industry to package before export. Those are just some women washing along Runde River at the Chilonga crossing point from Chirezi into Chilonga. Let's go forward. These pictures, dead as they are, I've been asked by guys in the diaspora, why are you coming to Chilonga? And my explanation is really that the whole purpose of investment is to make money with a moral conscience to develop the area. If you go there right now, this is what you see. A level of disinvestment, an indication that something must happen to bring this community into life. And that's where we find that Lucerne is very relevant, because all these pictures will change once industry becomes the norm or becomes the order of the day. Yes, this is what I saw. This is a banner for a school. Chirezi Rural District Council School. It's a school, it's a banner for a school. It says a lot. It's just a picture, but it tells you that something is not right. That's the school. The fencing itself tells you that there are gaps for improvement. Something can happen so that this community can come to life. I found it necessary to talk about these issues because people will be asking me, why are you not going to Mashonaland West? Why are you coming to us here? And then we have to make people realize that the whole direction is about improving people's lives. This project cannot go where there are no people, because it's about improving people's lives. That's why we realize that we need to engage, we need to talk so that people realize that we're not just looking at making money, we are looking at impacting on communities. I found this picture sometime in, this was December, early December. Cattle grazing on absolutely nothing. And these are the beasts. If you give this beast about 5 days, with that picture there where there's no grass, it goes down. There will be disaster management programs, Mombezafa, because of such pictures. So we want to change this. We want to make sure we introduce water so that we can irrigate and have the farmers approach livestock production from a commercial sense. We also want to acknowledge one reality. There is a serious presence of diaspora remittances, which accounts for the infrastructure beauties that you see, the beautiful houses. But we say that it's not sustainable, that our children get exported every year for employment in South Africa. We need an industry that can then ensure they are useful in their own communities. The soils, they are an opportunity for improvement, for economic transformation. Right. What do we want to do as Dendairy? We want to set up multiple Lucerne producing hubs throughout Zimbabwe and get Zimbabwe becoming the biggest Lucerne producer in the SADC region. Sadly, Mozambique has read into our narrative and they have started. They are clearing. I'll give you maps of the areas where they are clearing. We are hoping that we can use their port facilities to export to the Middle East. But just before the day before yesterday, I received said news that they are starting in earnestly. They read into our talk show approach to business and they are running with the industry. I just hope that by the time they are done, they will say, we don't have any port facilities for you because they've lined up their own Lucerne, and as a country, we don't have an exit point for our product. Let's go forward. So we are saying the developmental mission is Lucerne production under irrigation conditions for the benefit of the local dairy industry and the export markets. We are also heavily looking into community transformation and upliftment through A1 outgrower schemes. I'm not going to talk about relocations because our blueprint does not include any relocations for the communities. What it carries is that we are looking at community transformation and upliftment through A1 outgrower schemes. We know that if you are going to make money, you need to make sure that you are surrounded by peace. And it has been very important for us to come up with a blueprint that securitizes harmony with the communities to ensure that there is sustainability in our operations. So our vision is also heavily centered on making sure that we move into that area and transform lives for the better, for the sake of peace and sustainability. We will offer active management leading to knowledge sharing and transfer to the farmers that we want to work with. In essence, we are going to get there and develop a core area which is commercial. Thereafter, that area will be supported by an outgrower scheme for the local farmers. This is to ensure that there is continuity in their agriculture. The farmers will get inputs, irrigation management, and harvesting and offtake agreements, just to make sure that they are very viable. Let's go forward. To give you a picture, the area that will host the project is 12,000 hectares. We're not saying 12,000 hectares is under Lucerne. The zone of the project is 12,000 hectares. Don't let Zimbabwe don't mune zvikoro, zvipatara, migwagwa and everything. But within the 12,000, we want to get 5,000 hectares for Lucerne because the market has said if you can't securitize supply with 5,000 hectares, we cannot get into an agreement for supply. The markets in the East work on very serious planning. If you're going to import from Zimbabwe, you need a lot of infrastructure, port facilities, ship, and that investment, you cannot put it down if you're going to be getting Lucerne for 6 months. So we've been advised that go for 5,000 hectares as your minimum so that we can give you a contract to supply us for at least for many years. Now because you harvest for 5 years from one vine, it makes sense that we have 5,000 and we have continuity of supply. Let's go forward. Our primary commitment is community development. We also want to commit to a demonstration area of 200 hectares of irrigated land. The demonstration aspect, guys, for us is very important. We are talking about interacting a community which has been on subsistence farming like forever. It's not easy. It's not easy to introduce change to a community that has been anchored on dryland farming, to introduce irrigation farming to people who know that we go it through rain agriculture. We decided that a demonstration phase is very necessary. A phase where we can get our people to appreciate Lucerne itself, to learn about Lucerne, where we can get our farmers to understand the irrigation farming approach, where we can get our people to realize that the earnings from agriculture through irrigation change their livelihood patterns. Because right now to get there with words and say this is what we want to achieve, you are going to come across a lot of opposition, because people naturally react with fear when change comes into their communities. Therefore, we have committed to that demonstration phase where we put 200 hectares under Lucerne, and we invite outgrowers. That will be given by the community. We are not there to dictate who becomes an outgrower. We are heavily relying on the cooperation of the communities themselves to give us the farmers who will participate in the 200 hectare demonstration phase. So the farmers will receive support in the form of equipment, guidance, and inputs on a cost recovery basis, with profits being enjoyed by farmers themselves. We realize that with Lucerne, we can export 70% via Mozambique to China and to the United Arab Emirates. 30% can then be used in the local market for the improvement of the local herd. Those are just the mathematics around how we are going to make sure the financial equation balances. Remember, guys, no one is carrying a bag of money to get this project to take off. We have to approach banks with a formula. The banks will provide finance on the promise that there is viability around the project. So we are guaranteed of viability because the foreign markets have capacity to absorb at least 70% of our product. We are wanting to create a national regional fodder bank in Chilonga, where we take away issues of vulnerability to drought. If we get into very bad areas, we know that we've got feed stock, we've got stock feeds stored, ready for mitigatory measures should we come into bad years. We also want to set up stock feed factories using both Lucerne and cotton byproducts. You go for 5 years with Lucerne. When you get to 5 years, you then need to uproot your vines and then do some soil repairs. That's when we put cotton, just to repair the soil. Now, because already you've got Lucerne and cotton happening in the same space, there is scope for a stock feed factory. Eventually, we are really seeing a transformed low-veld economy, and it's really blossoming into a regional commercial hub for livestock production and other value chains. Let's go forward. The diversities in the investment package are to do with citrus. I won't go much into citrus because it's a long-term vision, it's a 26-year direction, but there are all those possibilities. When we start dealing with water coming inland, we can do hectares of citrus, apple, bananas, and oranges. That's also in the investment bag. Let's go forward. In terms of impact, we are looking at transforming the area agriculture, even the national economy itself. We are looking at improving the microeconomy of the area, and job creation, and all sorts. I think this is where we are at the moment, where there's a lot of news happening. We are realizing that before we can even start implementing the project, there are cleanup issues that are relevant, that are important. For example, right now we are engaging with stakeholders. We realize we need to take care of the fundamental phases before we can get to project implementation. Our hygiene issues on this investment program are to do, first of all, with stakeholder identification and sensitization. So our phase 2, which is also important, is to do with the formation of the community representative forum. There is so much concern by communities out there. We want to work with a community representative forum that will really be the one to receive the project in the area. We want the community to take charge of the investment direction by interacting with us almost on a day-to-day basis to give our communities the confidence that this project is not going to decimate them, is not going to get them peripheralized and then other people coming in to be players. Right now I'm getting inquiries from transporters in Harare. Saka project mutanarini to farmer services. And our communities react to that. When you bring investment into an area and you create an economic opportunity for someone who is alien to that area, already conflict arises. So we have said to make sure that when we unbundle, when we unpack this project in this area, we need a community representative forum where we declare the social benefits first, and our community has the right of refusal for any benefit around the project. This is to make sure that the community transformation that we so desire can be realized. Thank you.